Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, here to preview Tennessee Titans against Indianapolis Colts. Yes, these two AFC South teams are facing yet again, and I am joined here by Titans Rossi. He was kind enough to have me on the Tight Up Network earlier this season, so I figured what a better opportunity than to go ahead and have him on this channel. What's going on, Titans Rossi?
Not much, man. I'm glad to be on the show. I'm excited about this game and this week. A good buddy of mine gave me a free ticket, so I'm super stoked to go see him play. And I really hope the Titans can come out and play well, man.
Yep, that is absolutely right. And this is coming off of a victory. We had the Titans beating the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, 17-10. I thought it was a little underwhelming. But real quick, before we go into the Titans versus Colts, I was wondering, so what were your thoughts on the Titans, coming into this season? How do you think this season has gone? Have they met your expectations? Has it been slightly disappointing? Maybe even surpassed your expectations? What are your thoughts on this team?
So prior to them getting D Hop, I'd said that we would go 8-9. That was, I think I'd said 7 or 10 or 8 or 9 prior to D Hop. When D Hop came, everybody got excited, me alone, me too, and I said we would win 10 games after D Hop got here. Which I thought was a pretty fair evaluation when D Hop got here. I mean, if you look back, and nobody, me and Titan Upload was talking about this the other day, just on the phone, how nobody really talks about how this defense was supposed to be a top five, the top top five defense in the league. I mean, you look at the roster; they got over $100 million collectively in the defensive line over the span of years of these guys' contracts, and you thought, well, this defense could be really freaking good, and if the offense could score 20 points a game, or at least 20 a game, we could win 10, 11 games maybe. But it's just not been that way, man. It's been kind of crash and burn. And, the defense has disappeared up until Carolina, but that's Carolina. And the defense has disappeared the last 4 or 5 weeks, other than the one win Carolina team. So it's kind of been, gloomy, man.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I think top five was always a little high in my opinion, because you are looking at a defense. I mean, at best, you're talking two Pro Bowlers potentially, and
Right.
Byard, and whenever he was here, and Jeffrey Simmons, and now Byard is gone. And then maybe I mean we know that Daniel Autry he's going to perform, and then maybe Harold Landry returns to form, but he's still slowly kind of working his way back from the ACL. But I definitely agree, though, the defense should be better than what it's been, particularly as we're going to get into talking about the Indianapolis Colts and how that game went and how porous they were in the run defense for that game. So yeah, I mean, I think most Titans fans are in agreement with you. Disappointing season. Most of us it has been under our expectations. And it was easy to fall into the trap, though. I mean, this was a team that did start 7-3 last year. I think that last game that we won was against the Packers on that primetime game, and you felt great coming off of that. And then the injuries piled up, and it was easy to say, well, it was due to injuries that the Titans weren't able to finish that season strongly, and why they finished it not strongly, but so poorly. So the excitement, it made sense, and fans are always going to be optimistic. And while some people want to believe that we're absolutely terrible and we're certainly not good, we're not as terrible as to where no one's gonna have optimism. Like I think as long as you're a team that is even gonna be a 6-win team, 7-win team, you're gonna convince yourselves that you can make the playoffs. The only fans this like let's say coming into the only fans that could convince that were convinced or at least like I don't know resolved to the fact that they probably would miss the playoffs would be like maybe Bucks fans and like maybe a couple others. Even Bears fans thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. If you ask Bears fans, they thought they were going to make the playoffs. If you ask Panther fans, they'd be like, well, I don't know if Bryce Young has a great rookie year. Every fan base convinced themselves that they can find a way to compete. So it's just how it kind of goes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely,
so
man. For
yeah,
sure.
sorry, go
It's
ahead.
No, I was just say, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always as fans. And me, like I try to be a realist in a sense. I think I am for the most part, but there's always that part of me. It's like this week, it's like we can beat the Colts. Like I already predicted it on this AFC South roundtable team that we're going to beat them 20-17, and we're going to bounce back. We're going to shock the AFC South world. Realistically, is that going to happen? Probably not, but I do think we can beat this team if we stop the run. That's the main factor. Something like you said, we did not do that last time. They gashed us. It was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're gonna get into the game in a second. Interesting predict how you might be surprised how much I might align with you there, but I don't want to spoil too much. And also, it
Right.
just came to my head. The Cardinals, that was one fan base that was like, okay, yeah, we want to tank for Caleb Williams, but I think everyone else was at least trying to make the playoffs this season. So with that said, we want to head into the injury report this week for the Tennessee Titans, where you see Traylon Burks. Okay, so Traylon Burks limited participation on Wednesday, full participation here on Thursday. By the way, we're recording this on Thursday night. So, with a full participation on Thursday, guys, I think he's playing. Now, they might limit him as he works his way back, but it is a concussion, so it's not like you're afraid of him like re-injuring himself. So if he feels good to go, I mean, he's past concussion protocol. You can play him as many snaps as you want. I just think from the standpoint of now they've gotten a rhythm of calling plays without him. Now Kyle Phillips is used to running more routes. Now Nick Westbrook-Keen has gotten a little bit more of the number two role. So they might be a little bit slower to transition to that than Traylon Burks just being the immediate number two at this point, at the very least, in the offense. Although I think heading into the season, well, yeah, I think he was even the number two to start the season. But it looks like he's going to be back, so that's good. And then Daniel Brunskill, so he even had full participation on Thursday as well, so I expect him to be back. We also have to get into Will Levis. So Will Levis and this ankle. So we had a couple videos come out from Titans practice on Wednesday where Will Levis was looking a little gimpy with his ankle. Now, I wasn't sure on this Titans roster, and maybe you are. Uh, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't re-aggravate this injury. This is just the same injury he's been dealing with, and now we just have a couple videos of him looking a little gimpy with it. Am I right?
Right. That's what I've heard, that this is an injury that's been lingering the last couple weeks, I believe. I remember something coming out in the media. Well, maybe not in the media. I don't know where it came out a couple weeks ago where he had missed a practice, but I think it was like a walkthrough thing. So I think it wasn't really like a big deal or anything at the time. But yeah, this is definitely, I think, a lingering thing.
Wow. Yeah. So very unfortunate there. Hopefully, everything will be fine. At least like heading into the off season. Like nothing. It doesn't get worse. Apparently, there's a lower risk of that. I think that's why they're still trying him out there despite this terrible offensive line. But yeah, from the sense of how this is something that he's been dealing with, and I mean, and he hasn't taken off and ran. I mean, and that's something I've noticed because he did that considerably, especially early on in Kentucky.
Mhm.
I think I guess officially his junior or sorry his sophomore year in Kentucky. I guess it was his. Well, maybe it was actually his junior year. Yeah, it should be his junior year actually. He ran a lot. In fact, particularly his first game in Kentucky, he ran like for over 100 yards. Like this is a guy that's capable of using his wheels in order to move the chains. He particularly relied on it as he was transitioning to Kentucky from Penn State. To really as he became more comfortable as a passer because he really felt more comfortable with his legs. It was kind of like a Ryan Tannehill kind of like progression when Tannehill was transitioning from wide receiver to the quarterback, and he felt more comfortable using his legs earlier in his career. It was an interesting comparison there. So, I mean, has it limited this offense? I don't particularly think so because he's been back in the pocket throwing the rock just fine. Maybe there's been opportunities where he could have extended plays with his legs, but I haven't noticed it too much. So I don't want this to, and it's for me, it's not going to impact how I view him right now or this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I think at this point, no. The mobility thing has kind of been interesting because you would like to see him be more mobile because he seems like he could be that type of quarterback where he's very, good on the run and things like that, throwing the ball on the run. Last week we were sitting up in the nosebleeds. I was there. and up in the nosebleeds watching him in the first half. And, he was making some really good throws. Like he has such a good zip on the ball and things like that. And then the second half, for whatever reason, Tim Kelly's like, hey, let's just completely go away from every single thing that worked for us in the first half and throw screens all day and do all this stuff. Now, I mean, Will Levis did not look as good in the second half. Maybe he aggravated it then. I don't know. Did you see anything in the game that would lead you to believe that?
I didn't see that. He was only sacked once and maybe taken down a couple of times, but nothing that they showed or that was of any interest. Even when I watched the tape, I didn't notice anything that might have re-aggravated it.
Right. So
I guess is it re-aggravate or is it just aggravate? I guess aggravate.
I guess it would just be aggravated, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. So outside of that, though, so the injury reports, we also have a couple players limited, but they weren't listed on Wednesday, so nothing of really concern there. Look at the Colts, though. So for the Colts, you have Juju Brents. Okay, so this is one of their draft picks. He missed two practices with a quadriceps injury, so I would expect him not to play at this point. So that hurts their secondary a little bit. Jonathan Taylor, though, that's the big one. He's going to have thumb surgeries. He's going to be out for this game, so he did not practice Wednesday and Thursday. He will be out. Now, the question is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because if Jonathan Taylor is out, that means more of your boy Zach Moss. And we remember what Zach Moss did to us earlier this season. So, I mean, obviously we know that Jonathan Taylor's more talented, but for some reason, Zach Moss just torched us up. And for some reason, Zach Moss is averaging 4.8 yards a carry, and Jonathan Taylor's only averaging 4.1. And I think we have a lot to do with that, by the way, because I think against
Right.
us, he ran for over 5, but easily over 5. Maybe even like rivaled
Yeah.
6. In fact, he probably did over 6. He's like probably 6.2. I don't have it up in front of me, but yeah, 23 rushes for 165 yards, I
7.2.
want to say. 7.2. Well, yikes. So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, we have a lot to do with that number there. You see DeForest Buckner, he's limited twice, but I think he'll be fine, and I think everyone else on the Colts injury report will be fine. So heading into this game, Titans Rossi. So you mentioned earlier, at least you hinted at the Colts run game and stopping the Colts run game. What do you think in terms of keys for the Titans to win this game?
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously the number one key is stopping Zach Moss because the last game he had 165 yards, 30 yards receiving. I mean, he was literally, MJ, I've not seen anybody run like that on the Titans defense. I can't even remember the last time I've seen anybody run like that against us. It was demoralizing being up in I was at that game, been to a lot of games this year. I was at that game too. It was so demoralizing because we came out in the first half. We played pretty well. You know what I mean? We were in the game, but they just could not stop Zach Moss in the second half at all. I mean, he destroyed us. And I feel like if you can limit Zach Moss and make Minshew beat you and put pressure on Minshew, that's the thing. Getting pressure. This defensive line is supposed to be built for getting pressure. So that's what it's supposed to be built to do. That's what we need to do against Minshew. And I think if we can get pressure on Minshew, we have a good shot of at least being in there if the offense can put up a few points. You know, I believe it's going to take at least 20 to win this game. The Colts have not scored under 20 all season, I don't believe. So I think it's gonna I think it's going to be 20. No, I they scored 10 against New England. That's the only
Yeah, that's
game
right.
I believe they've scored under 20. That's a terrible stat I just gave out. Somebody said that on a Colts podcast I was on the other day, so I'm blaming him for that one. But anyways, but they're averaging over 20, so I think I don't know. I think, if we can limit them in the run game, put the pressure on Minshew and somehow score some points. I mean, it's for whatever reason, we just refuse to score over 17 points. I don't understand it. It drives me crazy. I thought we were going to do it at the game. I was just saying, please, can we please just get another field goal to get past this curse of 17 that we've been under since what? The freaking Falcons game. So it's like come on, man, something's got to give. Hopefully, we can open some running lanes. You know, Will Levis only getting sacked once, fantastic, considering what we've been giving up. So, but it's against the Panthers D line, who is 32nd in the NFL in sacks. So, different story with the Colts defensive line, who they've got some guys up there playing great ball. So,
Oh yeah, and led by DeForest Buckner, who continues to be an absolute beast. And by the way, you hit the nail on the head. That was probably one of the most demoralizing efforts that we've ever had in the run defense, particularly because he had the long one, the 56 yarder, but then he just
mhm,
had a bunch of 5 yard, 6 yard runs, just getting on third down, just getting the first down, getting the first down, getting the first down.
mhm,
Even in the receiving game, he had like a 26-yard catch, and it just like, how can we not stop this one guy? It will forever be known in my head as the Zach Moss game. And I remember a lot of people were very confident heading into that game, and I warned people. These AFC South matchups, especially heading to Lucas Oil Stadium, or maybe it's called something different. I can't keep track with these NFL stadiums anymore, but I think it's still Lucas Oil Stadium. You never know what's going to happen there, dog. You never know what's going to
right,
happen when the Tennessee Titans go to Lucas Oil Stadium. You could be the most confident. They could be 1-14 and about to get Andrew Luck. I still don't know if the
right,
Titans are going to win that game. I've, I've seen it before. So I knew that game was going to be trouble. But yeah, so you hit the nail on the head in terms of the run defense as well. And when it comes to, I expect Moss to be not nearly what he was. So I expect them to continue to target Michael Pittman Jr., who's really been coming on the last number of weeks since he's gotten healthy. By the way, an upcoming free agent. Now it might be a little. I think he's gonna get a little overpaid because I don't know if he is a 1A. I think he's a 1B or a really good number two, and I think he's gonna get paid like a 1A. But I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have to overpay for some players, and if we take a player away from the Colts, it's not that bad. But he's been doing really well lately, and Minshew. The thing is, if you are able to take Pittman away, then he has some struggles because he's really been abusing and using Pittman, particularly lately. So that's something I've been noticing for sure. And their tight end right now is fine. He's a rookie. He's been doing okay, but they don't have many weapons. Josh Downs is a rookie as well, but they don't have many proven weapons outside of Pittman right now. Alec Pierce is, I'm not even sure if he's healthy or if he's not. If he is, he's not being consistent either. So Pittman is the main one. And
yeah,
when it comes to the receiving game, he's the main one. And Minshew, he's a gunslinger. He's going to force the ball to him. Now, I wish we had a number one corner that I had faith in right now. We don't. As Christian Fulton in
mhm,
his contract year of all years is having his worst year, is not playing well at all, and he continues to cover number one corner, or number one wide receivers. So that's not particularly encouraging, and we don't have Kevin Byard behind him either. So there's anything that I think is going to kill us in this game, I think it's going to be the Minshew to Michael Pittman connection and not the Zach
mhm.
Moss run game. So that's the number one thing I'm looking out for sure. But in terms of the Titans and again offensively, the Colts have given up. I think they're one of the worst or one of the more struggling teams when it comes to their run defense. But they give up only 4.2 yards to carry, but they just give up a lot of rushing yards. Are you expecting a big game from Derrick Henry, a mid game? What are you expecting from him?
I would say it's going to be a mid game. I mean, I think I don't know. They are 26 against the rush, you know. I mean, Derrick Henry was looking good last week in the first half. And going into the fourth quarter of that game with like 10 minutes to go, he only had 13 carries. Everybody's like, "Oh, he had close to 20 carries, he had 18 carries." Yeah, he had 13 carries with like 10 minutes to go in that game. So I feel like, we need to give him the rock. See early to see if we can if we can break any ground or not, see if it's going to work. If not, do what you need to do with Will Levis. And as far as the Colts, actually, that was true what he said on that podcast. The Colts have only scored under 21 time. Surprisingly, they're eighth in the league in points scored per game at 24.5. Which is crazy. You wouldn't think that
Wow.
they're putting up that many points. I don't know about their scoring defense, but yeah, I mean, I think. we got to try and get Derrick Henry involved. I just think we got to try and get him involved more. It's something, we scream about it as fans, but look, I get it, right? If it's not working, it's not working. Don't keep going to it. But, 12, 13 carries is just not going to cut it, man. Like you got to at least try and see what you could do with 15, 16, 17, 20 carries. I don't know. What do you think about that? People have so many varying opinions on how many times he should touch the rock.
Well, there's certainly been games where he hasn't touched it enough. The now some people think it's literally a correlation, like a causation, but like I don't see that entirely. Sometimes it's just been coincidence. Like we're already down, so of course he's not gonna
Yeah.
have the 18 rushes. They're not gonna just rush him to get over. Well, we give him 18 rushes and as we're down 20 points or whatever. So that is a little misleading, but there have been games where I'm like, okay, like why are we not running more in this situation? Why are we at least not trying to give him the rock and get him going? Like when before games have gotten out of hand, especially particularly early when we're trying to set the tone. This is more early in the season. Now lately, it's just been our offense just hasn't been good. I think that's really been the problem lately, more so than not giving him enough carries. I mean, it's not like we're throwing the rock a lot. If you want to watch a team that does not run the ball enough, watch the Washington Commanders. That's a team that throws Sam Howell back there and just says throw the ball 38, 40 times, and we're not gonna run the ball with Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson. That's a team that passes the ball. We're not passing the ball. If we were passing way more than running, I would agree. We don't pass the ball. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
we're passing for 200 yards every week. The only thing is that situationally, there's a third down where are we going to pass or we'll run or we'll run a screen and then it's third down and we can't convert it. We can't sustain drives. If we can sustain drives, maybe we'd see are we running it or are we passing. We don't do either a lot because we can't move the ball. If I'm pretty sure if you look at this, we're probably bottom half in terms of passing attempts and then probably mid when it comes to rushing attempts. So we can't run it more. Like we're
Right.
just not in situations to run it because we're not a very good team that's ahead in these games.
Um, there was a moment in the game last week where we had the ball with like 25 seconds to go in the first half. And I thought for sure that Mike Vrabel was going to take a knee because that's what he always does. We didn't have any timeouts. We might have had like 30 seconds. He goes down the field, Will Levis, and we get that field goal, right? And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I was blown away by that. I really
yeah,
was. I was up in the stands like, huh? Like, why? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? It seemed like Vrabel does not do that. He never does that. Especially, he doesn't even do it when there's a minute and a half and we got two timeouts. Like, I've seen him like take a knee and just go into half and hell being down. I've seen him take a knee, and it just
yeah.
kind of blew my mind. And that's what it grinds my gears the most, MJ, out of out of this offense is how they just like they'll come out of the second half and they just play a completely different game plan. I don't know if it's playing not to lose or whatever else, but they were letting Will Levis throw the ball a lot more. Now, he missed a couple open receivers in the second half. He wasn't as good, but I feel like they just didn't give him the opportunities like they were in the first half. It's like, come on, what's it going to take for these coaches to be like, hey, let's have some consistency here. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep doing it. Put your foot on the gas. Like, what do you got to lose? You're freaking 4-7, and you were 3-7 at that point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It just drives me insane watching this offense work. And I'm not saying that Tim Kelly is like been terrible. I don't think he's been as bad as Downing. Like I do think he's tried to implement a few things, but at the same time, like that whole Jekyll and Hyde thing just irritates the crap out of me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And by the way, I mean, speaking of, we look across at this game, we were facing the Colts. So you mentioned their offense. Again, their quarterback is Gardner Minshew. Jonathan Taylor has missed like almost half the year. They have one really good Michael Pittman wide receiver, and not and other ones are inexperienced and inconsistent. Tight ends are unknown, but they have a really good offensive line.
Yeah.
And Shane Steichen is making it work. He has them as the eighth, highest scoring team in the league. So that's not a good, sign for Tim Kelly right there. That's absolute evidence right there that you can get it done now. He doesn't have the offensive line that Shane Steichen has,
Mhm.
but I mean, whose fault is that? I mean, hopefully we build the offensive line and we won't have that problem. But yeah, so ultimately, Colts versus Titans. I know you already kind of gave your prediction earlier, but what is your prediction for this game, Week 13?
I'm gonna stick with my prediction on the AFC South roundtable and those guys. I'm gonna say the Titans eke it out, man. I think they're gonna do enough on defense, and I think they're gonna do enough on offense. And I think the Colts have played the Buccaneers, the Patriots, and the Panthers the last 3 weeks, and that's been their resurgence. So I mean, what can you really take away from that? Those three teams are not great teams at all. The Bucks, the best team out of all of them, if that says anything. I understand the Bucks beat us pretty good down there, but I just think that if there's a time for the Colts to lose, it's this Sunday. Titans are 4-0 at home. There is something to that, right? I mean, there is something to that. They're scoring 24 points a game at home. I think the Titans are gonna eke it out, man. And I think it's gonna be close down to the wire. And I think Nick Folk's gonna play a huge part in this game.
Yeah, guys, I have the Titans winning this game. And I know this is disappointing for a lot of people that are already ready to tank this season. As I've been saying, and I'm going to keep saying it, we're not losing out. It's not happening. Also, guys, you know how hard it is to go 0-6 in your division? About one team roughly every year does it, and it's usually the worst team in the league, of which we're not. So we're going to win a game in the division, at least one. I still kind of think it's probably going to be two, but we'll see. This is one of the ones. This is the clear choice. And again, yeah, we got sucked into Lucas Oil Stadium. We kind of got bewildered by Zach Moss. We got whatever the mist that happens over there, and we lost by 7 points, having a lot of opportunities to do things that we didn't take advantage of. The Colts, like you said, off this 3 game winning streak, where I mean they looked awful against the Patriots. I know it was a neutral field, it was in Germany. That offense looked terrible. While they've been playing well all year,
Mhm.
there's nothing in that game that impressed me. I didn't get to watch the Bucks game yet, but I'm just not buying it. This is a perfect opportunity for the Titans to get this divisional win, to get more breath into them. Now, I think is it next week we go to face Miami, so it's not going to last long. But this is, or maybe it's someone else. Do you know who we face next week? Let me check
I
the
would have
schedule real
let me
quick.
look and see. I'm not sure. Is it Miami on Monday night? Is that
I
soon?
think that's the week after, actually.
What's
So
the
next week I
schedule?
got it. Oh yeah, it is actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is Miami. Okay, yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, so that's when we're gonna lose again. But in this little window, we're at home, like you said, 4-0 at home. So we've been at home now, just chilling, and the Colts are gonna come here, and these AFC South games, this is how they go. This is how they go. One team might have 2 or 3 more wins than the other, and no one's really thinking much about it, and then the other team will beat them. This
Right.
division's been doing this for the last 15 years. I've seen enough of it to know the Titans are going to want to win this game, in my opinion. And the Jonathan Taylor thing, I think it helps. I know Zach Moss did better against us, and he's averaging more yards a carry. I think it helps us. So I'm going to go with the Titans winning this game. I'm going to say 24. So I think they're going to get over that 17 hump for you. 24, and I'm even going to say strongly 24-19. I'm going to pick a little interesting score there.
All right. Well, man, I hope we're both right. Like I said, I mean, the Titans were never going to tank, and like you said, they're not, you know, the worst team in the league by any stretch. And honestly, like I'm just not a tanker guy. Like I don't know if it's the fan in me or what. I just want to see them play well, and I think it has more to do with just tanking or whatnot for me. It has to me, I want to see him do well and play well on the offensive line because I want to see Will Levis have the best opportunity he has to grow this season, and I think them playing well only bodes well for him and his confidence, winning a few games, maybe winning a game like this that they're technically not supposed to win. You never know what that could do for a young rookie quarterback's confidence. The offensive line, if they could step up. So, like I said, not a tanker. I hope they win, and we'll see what happens this Sunday.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Thanks again, Titans Roster, for joining. Is there anything you want to plug that way the folks can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on the Titan Upload Network. That's where I am primarily these days, and yeah, just look us up on YouTube. And me on Twitter, it's just at Titans Rossi. So give me a follow on there too.
Yeah, and again, that channel will be tagged in the title as well as in the description box. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at the MJ Take. You guys know also the Instagram at Sports Fan Entertainment. What are your thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans matchup? Are we crazy to think we both in agreement here that the Titans are gonna get their second consecutive win here at home against the Indianapolis Colts? And let us know in the comments down below. Until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.